So my name is Omar Rampersad. It's 2:55 p.m., July 13, 2019. So I am going to give you today's sample of the power being turned up and down. Right now it seemed to be turned down. It was turned up this morning. The jaw, the throat, the back, the hip. Yeah, it's definitely turned down. Yeah, it's not triggering. Oh, there we go. It seems to be on and off then. So okay, I'm just going to do this here. This is the detector pointing to me. That's me. And notice that the detector is going off. That's my tummy. It's me moving away. It's the tummy. And you notice that it's not going down to zero. So I'm constantly being scanned. So this is not an on and off system of detection. It's constant scanning. And here's an interesting phenomena. That's my hand on the detector while the detector is touching my body. This is my hand off the detector while the detector is touching my body. I'm not sure why that is. Hand, no hand, goes down to zero, no hand, hand, no hand. Not quite sure why that is, but that's very interesting. So, and this is true for my entire body. So I'm being scanned full body. It's a full body scan. So my hand, maybe here is a good reason that the detection is going down to zero when I put my hand on the um, the detector. I do have copper based a bracelet made out of copper, and it also has magnets along the sides here. There are 6 magnets on there, three on the side and three on the other side. So it could be that um, it's possible that it is affecting the signals. Not quite sure. Um, and for those of you who are looking for relief from maybe not targeting, but just signals coming off your cell phone, coming off the cell towers, if you find that when you're near a cell tower or after using your cell phone that's next to your head and you're not using a headset that we should be using, and sometimes I even do it because my headset is dead right now. I have to get a new one. You notice after using it for a while, you start getting nauseous, headachy, your head hurts. Copper and magnets do help. Um, I was getting arthritic like pains um, in my hand, both hands, because both hands were tagged and still is. And these bracelets, they're both copper, different designs. This one has magnets, neodymium magnets right around it. I think there is about 12, maybe more, um, right around. And it's a very nice looking bracelet. I think I paid 36 plus tax Canadian, so about $40 on Amazon. And this one was a little bit cheaper. This one was maybe about 20 plus tax. So these are ways that you can help yourself if you are getting symptoms of electromagnetic radiation um, sensitivity. And by the way, in Toronto here at Women's College Hospital, and this is a hospital I used to work at, um, one of the doctors there actually diagnosed a disease called electromagnetic sensitivity. Not all doctors choose to give diagnosis in this area because it's very sensitive and um, it's a politically sensitive topic. So, and lots of big corporations are involved in the telecommunication industry, obviously, trillions of dollars involved. So, very powerful corporations involved. But it's interesting that a doctor in this hospital actually stood up and made a diagnosis. So, and actually had a name for the disease. Um, anyway, so this is today's sample. Um, I do get headaches, earaches. Um, that's not associated. Well, let me rephrase that. I get headaches when I use my cell phone, but the headaches I'm getting when I'm sleeping, it's not related to the cell phone use. So obviously the signals are coming from elsewhere. Um, so that's on the topic of microwave tagging. I tweeted a bunch of tweets on RSHINI 911 to change the topic. And it relates to sex slavery and a sex slave ring. Um, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the comments I made in those tweets and the people and the corporations who I suspect are involved in the sex slave ring, the operation and participation in a sex slave ring, and maybe more than one. They're all connected. I do suspect that these sex slave rings are run by different ethnic groups. And then they, once the person is recruited, victimized and recruited, um, they are traded back and forth from one race, one ethnic background, one cultural background to another. So I think that this is what's going on in this building. Definitely there is gang activity in the building. The building has been infiltrated by some of these rings. um, so let's talk about um, the way that the traffickers, once they target somebody, go about recruiting them. I went through the steps several times in my other videos um, on YouTube and on my MSEYEOPENER Miss Eye Opener channel, if you want to take a look. The steps are they're very clear in hindsight. While I was going through it, of course, I didn't know what was going on. So it would seem that first you're flagged, then you're monitored, then the monitoring, excuse me, is outsourced. And then everywhere you go, you're being monitored, but the monitoring is not disclosed to you. So the people who are contracting to do the monitoring um, get groups of people together, teams together, and these people would follow you around, stalk you, harass you, incite anger, set you up, frame you, and intentionally twist your everyday activity to make it look criminal, then report this back to this team leader who is working with the cops. And because you're flagged and you're a target is meant to be disposed of. So your voice is intentionally suppressed by the cops who are taking part in the program as well. And that's an intentional act. Your voice is suppressed. It has to be. It's a one-way street. In fact, I hear this comment all the time outside my window. This is a one-way street. You're not allowed to talk. We cannot allow you to talk. You're a slave. So let's talk about enslavement. So how do you enslave somebody? Well, simply you take everything away from the person, and you get the person in a state of dependency where everything that he or she needs, she has to ask somebody for it. So independence is gained by education, by financial independence, by emotional independence, by psychological independence. This is what is true independence. This is what true independence means. And this is in the targeting program is meant to be all of these types of facets of personal independence are taken away and degraded when you're a target. So of course you're targeted in every possible way. So financially you're driven out of the workplace to impoverish you. So you go first the person will ask family for help, and the intention is to have the person ask for help from strangers to make the person look like you know uh, she's a little bit weird. And this is an intentional agenda. So keep in mind that every relationship that the target has is infiltrated, and that includes the family. The family will turn around because they're taking part in the targeting and say, well, she can't manage her money properly. Something is wrong with her because she's always asking us for help. While really what is happening in the background is the family's taking part in submitting reports about the target, me in this instance, that will ensure that she doesn't get a job based on lies, all lies. These are all lies. So this is one way of keeping somebody servile, and that's the detector going off. Um, Detective pointing to me is going off. So this is enslavement. This is the process of making somebody servile to enslave them. So once a flag is put against your name, it automatically separates you out from other people. So it's the equivalent of having a big red mark on your forehead, a bullseye for everybody to target. And that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. So then in this building, um, everything I do and say, including what I do and say inside of my home, is immediately countered, because of course most people lives are progressive. Most of the things that people do is to improve. A normal person or normal people do is to improve their life. So most of what they do are positive things. So in my case, when I take courses or I go take a walk, all of these things are countered by the people in the building who's running this program as part of the wider community targeting program. They will counter it. For instance, if I took a course and I got 100%, which I do sometimes, they will find a way to degrade that. They will find a way to make it look like I was cheating. I was whatever, whatever reason they come up with. If I were to write something good on my blog or talk on a topic, in a more in a knowledgeable fashion. They will find a way to degrade that, copying somebody else's, imitating somebody else's work, somebody's speech. If I'm singing a song and I sang it nicely and you know, uh, in tune. I'm not a very good singer, although really love singing, but sometimes I do sing. They would say I'm mouthing it, so everything is done to degrade the person. This is the process of enslavement, of making the person servile, to keep the person in place in a lower place than everybody else. So everybody gets to insult the person, degrade the person, dehumanize the person, harass the person, beat up the person, and in this case, and by remote technologies, rape the person and even try to kill them. And in my case, I do suspect using remote technologies, it's all been done. So let's talk about rape. So in this building, there is a program of rape that's going on, and it's remote rape. So once the flag is put in place and you're monitored by whoever has the receipt, people are subcontracting from the person who has the receipt. And since it's an enslavement program and the slave is not supposed to have any privacy, the surveillance is inside of your home as well. Now, an extension of keeping somebody in their place and dehumanizing them and degrading them, rape is used, electronic rape. So the um, the microwave technology that's in our environment are used and manipulated, and some of them are put um, to use this way. But normal microwave technology in our environment can be manipulated to be used as weapons as well. So these weapons could be used to imitate the physical act of sex, which is rape. It could be used to imitate human touch, which is haptic technology, which is also rape. It's sexual harassment and sexual assault. Um, and it is being used. And a lot of people are starting to talk about this more and more, especially the haptic technology and the more advanced technology that's used by porn sites and so on to have remote sex. Digital sex, I think I read somewhere, it was the new term. So these technologies are being brought into the community targeting program in order to rape the target into servitude, basically. So I just want to make a comment on that. Keep in mind that we are in the time right now where people are choosing to get chipped for a number of reasons. In a year or two, people are going to be routinely placing chips in their arms, and instead of a card, they'll be swiping the chip to get access to their bank account, to pay things, to maybe to answer the phone, or this is going to be just a normal thing in a few years, not very far away, less than 5 years, I would say. It's already happening. It's just going to be more and more accepted and more practiced in a few years because the young kids are already indoctrinated into that mode of thinking that they need a chip and it's more convenient and it's the in thing to do. That's going to happen. So these chips are going to be hacked and manipulated by criminals. New technology brings new crimes and more criminals into the arena. And we're going to be affected this way. So targets are not the only ones who are going to be raped and who are going to be killed, basically, by just turning up the power in a microwave system in the area, in the environment around the person. So this is something to think about. Targets are not the only one who are targeted, who are being affected this way by these types of technologies. Everyone is. So in a sense, we are all targets because we are not being told about the effects of the technology that's being used around us. Our environment is being filled with all of these signals. And the people who are doing it are not talking about the biological and physiological and psychological and emotional and spiritual effects that these signals can have on our bodies and our minds. It's not being disclosed to us. So, in a sense, we're all targets. And while rape is being done, victims like myself can choose not to be victimized. Because the victim is not the bad person in this setup. It's the criminals who's doing the rape who should be dehumanized. Well, actually, I don't think anybody should be dehumanized, but they should be the one who is held accountable for what they're doing, because in a sense they are also victims, but there should be accountability. Talk to you another time.